There is a disconnection between mind and body in women. We don't want to think about our body. We don't think that it's worthy of pleasure, and we just live in our bodies.
She reshaped how America dressed, and now she's reshaping how we talk about menopause. If midlife is a reintroduction, Stacy London has already made her entrance. She's become one of the most unapologetic voices in the conversation around midlife, menopause, and what it means to age.
There is still such a stigma that you could get to a point in your life where sex is not interesting to you, and people can make you feel a great deal of shame around that.
Some of it is just the declining testosterone level.
For a long time, I was a real purist. If we're talking about menopause, it's just about hormones. But then you think about all the life issues that get piled on in midlife. The fact that menopause has taken this long to be part of the cultural conversation, we really need more medical voices.
If menopause had a dress code, what would you burn and what would you keep?
I would burn it. The thing that looks the best on people going through menopause is
expert care for menopause and sexual health, now just a click away. Virtual Care by Her MD offers longer visits, personalized treatment plans, and trusted providers, all from the comfort of home. Learn more at hermd.com. This episode was sponsored by Her MD.
Stacy, welcome to The Disruptor.
I know. Oh, well.
As I'm growing my platform and learning, I have definitely, I work with brands, talk with brands, but I like the innovation, the scientific, the medical advisory board, because I curate products all the time and tell people, yes, in addition to your vaginal hormones, you should use lubricant and a moisturizer. And women want to know, what's safe, what's effective, because there's a lot of noise out there.
I will say, Somi, what I think is so important, why I can, respect you and admire you so much as a colleague, but, just have so much love and respect for you as a friend, is because I think as a gynecologist, you were one of the first people to talk about the shame and the pain involved in coming to a doctor and having to admit to having low libido or painful sex or being miserable about the idea of having sex or being able to open up. There's nothing to me in women's health that doesn't require some sort of therapy, right? Which is also why I think all my doctors now are women, because I just want to be like, and you get it, right? Like, I'm done with the advocating for myself. I'm teaching other people to advocate. I look at doctors who know me because they're like, yes, we know, but then
there is so much therapy involved. You are so right. And so much talking involved.
Same with styling, because all of this, all the things that I keep coming back to, eventually I'll write about this on my Substack when I figure out how not to write a Substack 15 minutes before I'm supposed to publish it. But that's a whole other thing. But this idea that almost all issues for women are interconnected with identity and self-esteem.
Completely. And we know this. Yes. Even with sexual health. Confidence, your vital signs, your performance at work, the way you feel about yourself, everything is affected by what is going on. I always say in the bedroom, but I hope people are having sex in other places other than just the bedroom. But if you want to be...
But not with a colleague.
Yes.
Dangerous.
Yes, but absolutely what is going on in the bedroom affects what's going on in the boardroom. And I think for those people who want to be intimate, because certainly, Stacy, I support if a woman or a patient, an individual has said to me, listen, that part of my life is over. I'm fulfilled in other ways. We don't chase it. We don't treat it. We don't medicalize it. That is fine. That is healthy. But if someone... Yes.
Just because I know, because you're going to say, but if somebody comes to you, because I want to talk about both things, not that it's my podcast, it's yours, but I have questions.
No, I love this.
Because I will tell you the incidence of people. Now, I really credit Gen Z with giving us the language around LGBTQIA+, right? But the older I get, and again, I think that this is in some ways adjacent to aging, if not akin to aging, if not causally related by aging, that our desire for sex dips. Now, I don't know if that's long-term or if it's like a U dip and then it comes back up. But what I'm finding more and more of is that a lot of people my age are referring to themselves as asexual.
Right.
Even if they had partners before, even if they were married before, it's almost like a way of the A stands for abstinence, that asexual, some people, obviously, this is not a choice for them. This is how they feel. I read an article about a woman who realized that she was asexual her whole life. But I'm curious about those people because I think that there is still such a stigma around the idea that you could get to a point in your life where sex is not interesting to you. And people can make you feel a great deal of shame around that. And I'm wondering how you feel about that.
Yeah, I talk to them about it and, really differentiate. Is it, like you said, by choice, or is it that, oh my gosh, I'm in a loving relationship and I want to, but I don't have the want to want, and I need you to help me. And this is causing me a lot of distress or anxiety, or I'm not happy with the way things are, versus now there are two corollaries. If you're single and you feel that way and you're like, I'm done. I had a great, sex life.
Had a great run.
Had a great run. And, now I don't want that complication, right? I'm making great money. I have great friends. I have great vibrators. Like, there are great products out there. Like, I met a woman in her 7th decade. She's like, I'm having the best sex of my life. I'm like, oh my God, who is it? And she's like, my vibrator. I was like, I love you. I love you already. And so, I wouldn't consider that asexual. Asexual is really when someone has kind of been that way, their whole life. I would say that's a choice. The problem is when there's discordance in the relationship, right? One partner wants it all the time more, or even at all, and the other one is like, I'm done. And that's where you get into, okay, let's at least start with therapy. Let's see if we can get to, if you both want to stay in the relationship and you both desire the relationship, can we get to somewhere where both people are happy and satisfied and don't feel pressure? Because what happens to a lot of, unfortunately, women, and I chose that on purpose because men usually don't have check-a-box sex, but women end up just kind of giving in and adding it to their task list. And that is not what we call sexually satisfying events. That is not sexual satisfaction. When you are checking a box to keep a relationship or just to keep, him happy or her happy because she loves you, that's not satisfaction, right? And so that is what you really, like you said, it's almost therapy. You have to tease that out, figure out what's going on, and then you ask them about medications and duration of symptoms and how long it's been going on. Some of it, though, Stacy, honestly, is just the declining testosterone levels. You put people on hormone and all of a sudden, the brain starts to wake up, the clitoris, the vagina, like everything starts to I don't want to normalize because I hate normal and abnormal, but, maybe return to a better state or where you want it to be. Right, and there's also 2 FDA-approved medications. And it's very interesting, Stacy. They don't work on hormones. They don't work on the localized anatomy. They work on neurochemistry.
Right?
Yes.
Of course, I know Addie. We both know Cindy Eckert, and I'm unfamiliar with what the other.
The other one is, and this one I find a little bit humorous only because of what's going on with GLP-1. So it's an injection. And that one is truly like, Addie is the pink pill. You take it every night, regardless of whether or not you want to be intimate, so that your desire is just back. Vyleesi is an injection. You inject yourself 45 minutes before you want to have sex. The effects last 12 to 16 hours. It's really nice for people who just don't want to take a medicine daily, who just want it for, for the act or when they want to be intimate. But I find it humorous when I'm talking to my patients because, we laugh a lot. I think laughter is the best medicine. But when they were not willing to give themselves a shot for sex, but they are willing to give themselves a shot to lose the weight, or for the Botox, they're like, give me needles in my face, or to make me skinny, but I will not take a shot for my libido. Like literally, it's the first barrier. They're like, nope, do not want the shot. Yeah.
I'm totally shocked by that because we have normalized the idea of using needles in everyday life. I mean, Botox for the last 20 years, but like now GLP, I always want to call them GLP-5s. I don't know why. I'm like, it can't be one. it's the same thing, and I also find it so weird that we really are, we there's the medical side of things and there's the sort of phase of life beauty side of things, right? There's like these kind of weird adjacent juxtaposing forces that I see you having to kind of battle against every day, right? The idea that we weren't being recorded about this, but we were talking about labioplasty, right? Like that there is vaginal reconstruction. And I was like, who is doing this? And then I realized, oh my God, it's the same people who are doing Botox, who may have had issues with sex or sex drive during menopause. All of these things are to make us feel confident and stronger in our identities so that we go out into the world able to enjoy things like pleasure and sex and other people, and how closely related they are. Because for a long time, I was a real purist. I was like, no, if we're talking about menopause, it's just about hormones. But then you think about all of the life issues that get piled on in midlife, whether that's, the kids or the, taking care of elder parents or parents are dying, or you're having kids up against perimenopause, all of these other things. But really, I never realized how the way we think about beauty and the way we think about things that are actually healthy for our aging are somehow almost like combined in our minds, right? Like if we think about taking testosterone, we can say, yay, great. Okay. That's going to help us like maintain muscle mass and that can bring back energy. But everybody who talks to me about testosterone, the first thing they say is it's because they wanted to have sex again. Right. And I mean, I find it fascinating when you're talking about sex, when you're talking about, let's say, the big feelings of menopause. Well, I call them the big feelings, right? The depression or the anxiety or the rage. I mean, I don't know. I've never been a person who could have sex when I was like deeply clinically depressed. I don't even know if I've been able to have sex when I'm anxious. I've been able to have sex when I'm angry.
But the drugs that work on the neurotransmitters in the brain, at least Addie was initially studied and does have positive effects on mood and anxiety. So it's all interconnected. It's all interconnected. Yes. And people, we know this, that mental health issues go hand in hand with sexual health issues. Now we know that a lot of the antidepressants cause problems with sexual function, but we also know that people get diagnosed with both, like anxiety, depression. Some of it is from alienation. Some of it is from not wanting to date or to go out there because they don't have a sex drive, but vice versa. So mental health and sexual health go hand in hand. And that's why I say for me, it's a barometer. Like think about it. When you have the flu, you have COVID, you're not having sex. So sex to me is a vital sign. Just like pain, just like your blood pressure, it tells me what's going on, particularly if you are someone who is not asexual and is sexually active and wants to be. If you're not having sex and it's happening on a regular cadence and you want to, that's when, I step in and say, okay, something is going on. But I think for a lot of women, the loss of that sexual power, that sexual being, even what they say, that sexual identity, when it starts to disappear for them, they feel like it's another loss, along with the word finding, the brain fog, the inability maybe to go to work, the whatever is going on. And so I think it's just they start measuring losses in their mind. All the things that used to be that are no longer there kind of remind them of their current state. But the good news is it doesn't have to be that way. You know that. Yeah.
Right. I was going to say, do you find that is helpful in some ways for... I know for me, I still kind of, have a listicle of things I had to grieve, things I had to say goodbye to. And I know that, sex is one of those things where obviously there are things that you can move those levers in a way where you're not saying goodbye to sex. But for those people who do, or for those people whose libido, I think, lessens over time, there is a real sense of grief. There is, and it's so funny how it's not even just about pleasure, right? That sexual attraction is something that we love. It's so strong. It gets us so excited. It's like getting your dopamine hit, whatever. When even that feeling disappears, when you don't, necessarily like meet somebody and go, wow, they're hot, or anything, like it doesn't register to you on that level. I think that is a real loss of identity. I think that is like incredibly painful for people. And it's almost like one of the things that, okay, let me put this on the list. It doesn't mean that I'm always going to feel this way, but I do have to acknowledge that the way that I was as, a young person, and the way I had sex when I was younger, or the frequency, or the, energy, or whatever it is going to change. All of these changes require such an amount of, stoic acceptance, right? That's not to say that you have to, it doesn't mean you have to live with everything. It means that you kind of have to take it. I always think of Marcus Aurelius's example of like, be the rock in the ocean. Just, you don't move, and that water is going to hit you, and the world around you is going to be crazy, and waves are going to crash against you, but just stay like the rock in the ocean. You can be wet, you can get hit, but the calmer you are to the things that are happening to you, your reaction to them, the better off the experience is going to be.
Well, the way, and this is how our worlds collide, a patient of mine described losing her attraction or her libido or even any sense of sexual self was, the world used to be in color and now it's beige.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, beige is nice, but beige is like every day it's just beige. And that's the way she felt. She's like, I used to see the world in color. And so obviously with their intervention, we got her seeing lots of colors again.
You do good. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Because I think
that made me so sad. And it gave me such a visual to lock onto and like help me understand how sad she was about this, that's the way she felt about herself.
But do you think that, I just wonder, culturally speaking, also, if we are disconnected from our desire as women. I mean, culturally, I think we've just been taught that, right? You're a slut if you really love having sex, or, all of the things that we grew up with. And I'm not saying things aren't changing. Obviously, I think sex has changed in a lot of ways for younger generations, but we're still talking about bodily autonomy. We're still talking about abortions. I mean, it's barbaric to me that, this is where we are. But at the same time, I do think that there is a real, I see this epidemic of disconnection between mind and body in women. Whether it's that we don't want to think about our body, we don't want to think about our own physicality, we don't think we deserve it, we don't think that it's worthy of pleasure, we don't think that it's worthy of care, or we're just, we don't think things through. We don't use our powers of reflection and scrutiny and critical thinking, and we just kind of live in our bodies. And women have been taught to do both, but both kind of separately, not in connection with one another.
And we're very overstimulated, not sexually, but with, the phones and the TV and the lights and the messaging. And then, like you said, this phase of life, kids, and maybe we're caring for parents and then jobs. So overstimulation, not enough time, like you said, for mindfulness or to actually be in your head. And then one of the biggest interferers or reasons that women don't have orgasm is because they cannot focus on the pleasure. And they're thinking about the million things, the car line, the grocery list, whatever it is, the presentation I didn't get done.
Make the dog groomer appointment? Did I?
Yes,
all of the things. Yeah.
Because we can't shut off the brain to the noise and focus on the pleasure. And that's why those medications that work for desire also help with orgasm, because they increase the excitation. So the things that say, yes, buy the dress, yes, take the trip, and quiet down the things, the inhibition, right? But we need high inhibition or high no when we're working and we're trying to focus. And so it's all about that neurochemistry of yes, no in the brain that helps us with orgasm and satisfaction and desire. And so I love our conversations, I swear. So
I don't know we just go everywhere.
Everywhere. Yes, I love it.
I've been thinking so much about it lately because, again, I am such a big fan, and I've known you for a while now, and I know how consistent you are in your message and in your desire to really help people, and as I predicted, I've said this to Tamsin Fidel many times, who we both know. I was like, we knew phase one was going to get, getting people to talk about menopause. And then we knew we were going to have doctors that fought about who's right and who's wrong and who's a charlatan and who's making money and who's a grifter and all of that. And I'm like, I don't want to be involved in all of that. But what I will say is that you have consistently been one of the doctors that is always called out for being, like one of the kindest, most insightful and thoughtful doctors in this space. And that means a lot to me. It means a lot to me.
Oh, I so appreciate that.
But it also means a lot to me because I've texted you on more than one occasion and been like, hey, I don't know what to do. I have a friend who has this problem. I don't know what to do. I'm having this problem. You always write me back. You're so kind. And I've been thinking so much about this lately in the context of community, right? I always said 2025 that the key word was going to be community, but I thought it was going to be because, we're seeing so many things kind of feel like they're going backwards historically. And yet at the same time,
yes.
Yeah. This is not about like, oh my God, how much trauma are we all like kind of, absorbing from the world? I wonder if we're even thinking about community the right way, because I don't even think so much about community in terms of who are my people, like who thinks like me or whatever. I'm actually thinking now, hey, who are the group of 10 to 15 to 20 people that I'm going to keep in this tight circle where we're actually going to have to be community? That may mean looking after each other's kids or pets or watching mom who has early Alzheimer's for an afternoon while your friend has to go run to her own doctor appointment. These kinds of things where it's a village mentality. I think we've gotten away from. I think it's also gotten us away from being truly creating human connection, right? All I read about right now is AI. All I read about is like how many of us will be replaced because of AI. Fantastic. But I worry, when we have men already proposing to their AI, blow up doll, is it going to be considered some form of prejudice if I had a kid, if I told my kid not to marry their robot? Am I going to be like considered prejudice for being human? Is that what the world is going to be like in 20 years?
I hope not. And I hope not in my lifetime that ever happens. But going back to community, I think two things. I think we've been looking at it incorrectly. Just as an educator in the space, sometimes I'm frustrated because I love seeing the same people over and over again. But I feel like there's so many other people that need to hear this message and what I'm talking about. And
how many times I've said this to you. I'm like, hello, how many times are we going to see each other for the same thing, right?
For the same thing. And so for me, it's all about access, right? I want to see a rainbow color of rooms and ages and people from different area codes and zip codes. And so, yes, I love seeing the same people and I love having, the friends. And yes, we text each other and we support each other. But I would love to see more diversity. I would love to see us holding events listen, this Ohio girl loves coming out to New York and LA, but can we please have an event in a city other than Ohio? We did. So I spoke at Power to Pursue. Katie Couric came out here, and do you know how many women showed up? 900, because they don't have access because they came from Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, and literally Rachel DeRocher, who was on the show, she started Power to Pursue, and she's specifically going after these what we call tier 2, markets where there are tons of women who are just as hungry, but maybe they can't go out to New York or California or even Chicago, and so.
This is what drives me crazy is that you and I talk about this all the time. I keep saying, yes, the 300 of us who all talk about menopause on the regular, we all know each other and we're all talking about menopause on the regular, but it's the rest of the 320, what would that be? 329 and 329,700 people who are not talking about menopause. And that's a whole lot just in this country to get a handle on. And, I say men and women and gender non-conforming folks, because there are 330 million people in this country. And I think you're right. The fact that, menopause has taken this long to be part of the cultural conversation and now is sort of suffering the growing pains of grift when it becomes a viable business and vertical. I think, there's a lot, that's when we really need more medical voices than quote
But
unquote.
if we leverage that correctly, so me always, I want to take advantage of the fact that sadly, the reason we haven't had the data and the studies and we have been blown off and we don't have insurance coverage is because we haven't had the investment. So if we
Right.
can get the thesis to the investment, but then we have honest people who are doing it for the right reasons, not just to flip a quick buck, and you are doing it for the right reasons, you can utilize those dollars. I mean, I've raised VC, right, to
Of course you
expand
have.
care.
Huge.
Yes. And so to me, it's like, okay, finally they're writing checks. Let's use it. Let's get those research studies done. Let's get more things that are accessible. Let's get the medications. Let's get, the procedures. Let's start increasing the access, leveraging those dollars. And sadly, you know this, I made headlines when I raised money because it happens less than 2% of the time, less than 0.5% when you're my color and gender. But I mean, and so you can leverage all those opportunities to do so much good because you know this, there's one trained provider for every almost 33,000 patients in this country. Yeah. And so that's why what you said, the grifting and the cattiness and the fighting, I mean, guys, none of us can treat all of the patients. They all want different treatments. Someone may just want to pop on, fill out a questionnaire, get their medication. Amazing. Someone may want to see someone in telehealth because their next provider is 200 miles away. Maybe someone really wants that concierge care where only 100 women belong. Fine. Like for me, that's not for me. I want to treat a lot of patients. I want to stay accessible. I want to keep educating wherever I can. And I will go. I have taken stages in Minnesota and Ohio and Kentucky and Saudi Arabia this year. Who thought?
All right. Wow, that's amazing.
So that's a statement. So this is a question for you. Something I would have never thought I said in my 30s that I said now. I spoke about menopause in Saudi Arabia. I grew up in a Muslim household. We didn't talk about any of this kind of stuff. So the fact that I talked about menopause in Saudi Arabia, now they did grab me before I went on stage. They were like, no sex, no vaginas, Dr. Gervais, okay? Like menopause, all the other symptoms of menopause. I'm like, I got it. Like no sex and no vaginas. But I did it. And I was like, oh my God. My husband was like, the last thing he said to me when he dropped me off at the airport, he's like, baby, please don't get arrested.
Oh, that's so funny. I'm so glad you didn't.
And I was like, I didn't. Yes.
Well, I just wanted to ask you, just to go back to that question a little bit about leverage, because, my experience with VCs was fascinating. It was the only time I ever felt really stupid in my life. Like, I was like, I could not believe how dismissive people can be, particularly when it comes to money. And I'm curious if you find, if you're finding more women and gender nonconforming folks who are VCs, if you're, finding those investors now, because I know that was also something that we've been talking about in terms of democratizing the process of investing, would be to have more diversity in the investors themselves. But are VCs still operating under this kind of illusion of hockey stick money when it comes to women's health? Because my argument always was, you can't look at women's health like you're making hockey sticks, right? This is going to take a lot of money, a lot of work, and a lot of time, and you will not see a return in the very quick and obvious way that we make hockey sticks, right? So I'm curious if you've seen a shift in the landscape. The more investors understand the need for dollars behind women's research and funding and medicine in general.
Oh my God, I have such a Rolodex of learnings from my 4 years of being in VC, because remember, you want to talk about number one, imposter syndrome. Number two, I'm not an MD MBA. So I was a girl who had bootstrapped her own business for 7 years and had kept it profitable even through COVID. So that was my MBA, right? Real life. If you don't make it work, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. That was my thing. People are going to lose care. And, you're going to lose your shirt because you put down your life savings to open this business. And so for me, yes, I am starting to see a lot more female investors. We're starting to see a lot more funds purely dedicated not only to healthcare, because you have to understand healthcare is not transactional. Healthcare is a relationship and it is lifetime, right? That's a
Can
true
we get
win.
that on a pillow? Can that be on a t-shirt? Because I feel like you're the only doctor who has said that out loud in a second. All right. It's not transactional.
It's not transactional. So that's what, so now I've learned, like everyone was like, be careful. Like you're going to get so excited when you get term sheets that you're just going to sign on. It's like a marriage and it's like a long-term, right? Because then you become partners in this and this mission. And it's not going to be a 10x return, in 6 months. It may never be a 10x return. So you have to get investors, number one, who lock on, who care. This is where storytelling is so important.
So important.
So important. And number two, they have to understand it's a long game. And number three, I always thought it was just the founder that had to care about the mission. No, because when something goes wrong, when your runway, not the kind of fun runway you talk about, but when your runway of money is gone because something happened and you need to go to your investor and say, hey, listen, this happened, but we learned and we're auto-correcting, but I need another bridge loan or I need another check.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if they don't care, you're not going to get that money. They're going to be like, we're done. And so for me, lots and lots of learnings about transitions, pivots, things you need to do, and how to even survive healthcare itself with soaring costs, declining reimbursements. But yes, more female funds, more female investors, and just more VCs in general who get it and who actually are excited about getting into this space. But overall, when you look at the enormity of the problems we have to solve, because I feel like we're playing catch up for, I don't know how many, whatever you want to say, thousands of years, hundreds of years, decades of misinformation and just being frankly ignored. We have so much catching up to do. So much money, so much research.
That's so unhelpful.
Yes. And that's what I always talk about. You need lawmakers, politicians, researchers, providers, the consumer, everybody. You need on the same page, echoing the same message, right? Agreed. This is a problem. This interferes with people's lives. I never want to hear again, it's not going to kill her. It actually could kill her. Like I talk about this, severe hot flashes can be an indicator of underlying cardiovascular disease. What is the number one killer of women in this country? Cardiovascular disease. Yes. Yes. And so I think it's going to take all of us.
A terrible diagnosis. I found out I knew I had osteopenia, but I have osteoporosis in some of my spine. Unfortunately, it was the first time in this whole kind of, menopause journey where I was like, oh my God, something really bad could happen to me. We talk about cognitive cardiac bone health as being the focus of post-menopause, right? Like, how are you taking care of yourself? And that's another reason, it's funnily enough, one of the reasons I was so excited to start a Substack. I was like, I don't think I'm using my brain enough, right? I work hard. I'm not suggesting that I'm like a slacker, but
Slacker and Stacy don't go in the same sentence ever. Okay. Ever. Just so you know.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Although, like, if I sit on the couch for, a weekend and like watch television, I feel so desperately guilty afterwards. Like, you didn't go to a museum. You didn't read a book. You're not cultured. You're not intellectual. But that's a whole other story. I think that's
no. I'm going to stop you right there. I met a woman from Germany. She taught me an amazing life lesson. We were at an event for the kids and she goes, well, what are you doing after this? Or I asked her and she goes, I'm couching. I go, what is couching? She goes, in Germany, at least. Yes, exactly. 1 day a week, we just, and she's like, I'm a cardiologist. I have kids. I don't get to do that. But tonight I'm couching. And so once a week when I am not traveling, we build in a half day of couching where it's not Netflixing and chilling because I know that has other connotation. But my husband and I, who's a medical oncologist, we have built that into our life. I'm like, and let me tell you, it has been transformative, Stacy. And I cannot sit still. My mother used to call me the Energizer Bunny because I was like constantly going. It has been the
that's
best.
What I see. P.S. I need to come and couch with you, but because all I've ever seen you do is be on the go and running around. and it's so funny that you say that too. Like That I really do believe in. I believe in that idea of scheduled rest.
Yes.
But there's a difference between the kind of conscious choice that amidst the workouts or eating well or taking care of our health or, doing things that are good preventative health care, things like that. There is a way in which to turn the kind of rotting in bed or lying on the couch into, a way to make yourself feel bad, right? To say you're being lazy or whatever. But like, I just noticed, for example, that it has been raining on the East Coast quite a bit this summer. And most of May and June was some iteration of rain. After last week, I was upstate for 3 days and it was just pouring rain. And I came back and I feel like I had like a truly depressive episode. It was 5 days where I just couldn't get off the couch. I just couldn't do it. It was like that thing of, no, I wish I could go. I wish I was a better person. I could go to a gallery and be more intellectual. It was like, I'm not sure I can get up and brush my teeth. It was that overwhelming.
No.
And I think I wrote about it actually on Substack that I feel like it was like seasonal affective disorder. I'm not used to this much gray and rain for this long in the summer. And it really, like, you don't want to go outside because you're just eaten alive by mosquitoes. It's like living in the rainforest. The dogs hate it. Like, I was like, ah! So
You're
basically, I found the most violent show I could find on television that was all about female rage. I highly recommend Yellow Jackets if you can handle the violence. But I know I'm behind. I know there's been a few seasons, but I felt like I really had to do that. And then I had to call a friend and say, help me. I'm in a bad spot. And by isolating and by not calling in my community and by not calling my friends and saying, whoa, something is up with me and I'm not okay. I sat in that isolation until I finally realized, like, I'm not going to be able to get up and go to work if I don't get somebody to kind of help me get out of this. And it really was interesting. I have not had that kind of experience since I was like really deep in perimenopause. And it was frightening. It is so alienating.
Seasons affect me so deeply. I hate the winter. I was born in the summer. I was just telling my husband I am such a summer baby. I love summer mornings. I love being outside. I love the sunshine. The hotter, the better. Although lately it's been way too hot even for me and my hair. But I read that and I so resonated with what you had written about the gray. It's why I love Seattle. I could never live there though. And even London, my brother was there for a couple of years and he's like, way too gray. Even in the summer, it's gray and raining. And so it can profoundly affect people's moods. But I'm glad you had community. I'm sad that you were so sad.
It happens,
But isn't it interesting that people see us on stages or they see us on, you on TV or outside and they think we're so gregarious and happy all the time, but we definitely have those moments of isolation or Mayday, I need help.
And I think, especially if you've got a public persona, like I certainly know if you come ask me to speak on a panel, for me to talk about having a 5-day depressive episode where I was lying on the couch, crying at dog commercials and watching Yellow Jackets, you might think, I don't really want to hear about that. Like, I've got my own problems, and so I really do truly try to make, anything that I do in public, something worthwhile for people, something that doesn't mean I'm acting, but I'm certainly not going to bring all my personal shit to a public event where people are looking for answers or help or support. It seems kind of like ungrateful to show up and be like, I'm a mess. You know what I mean? But what I do struggle with.
Or it makes you look more authentic and transparent and approachable, because think about it. Women are coming to you just like they're coming to me, and they're sharing the things that they're insecure about or don't like about themselves. And that takes courage. Yeah.
It takes huge courage. And I have so much sympathy and empathy for that. But I feel like if you were paying $20 or whatever to come hear us speak, for me to be like, Somi, please help me, I'm the one in trouble, forget about this audience, is somehow unfair to the audience. You know what I mean? So I'm always trying to not fake it it's a wrong way to say it, but I feel like I have an LCA part of me, which I call lights, camera, action, which means that regardless of how sad I am or if I'm upset about something, the minute you say you're on, whatever I'm feeling goes away. I can push that into the back of my head, and the task at hand is the task at hand. Same thing with like, if I had broken my foot, but you said to me, nope, you got to stand up at that podium for an hour and give a speech. I will not feel my foot until I'm off the stage. So I have this way of compartmentalizing things that sometimes I think creates a fissure in who I am versus who I think I'm supposed to be. And I think a lot of us struggle with that. And a lot of this whole kind of midlife menopause conversation is about shedding that shell in a way, right? I mean, there's the difference between courtesy and kindness and a lack of boundaries where you're allowing people to take up your time and space when you don't physiologically or psychologically feel you can manage it, right? Those are two different things. But I think if you do this long enough and you do have our kind of energy and you are gregarious, right? People do forget that there are days where it's like, I can't do it.
No, I'm an extrovert introvert. I learned that, but I've just recently learned that. Like I can do it and I will engage.
You're an ambivert.
Yeah. Yes. And so, but I think I learned that skill. You learned it because you were on TV and you were very public facing. For me, I had to learn it in surgery because no matter if I had just had a fight with my husband, I was upset with whatever, or I was sad, I had to go in and do that surgery because that patient deserves the best surgeon that was going to show up that day. That's what I would want. That's what I would want for my family members. And so that's when I learned to do that. And then now I've learned the same thing when I'm on stage or I have to present, no matter what is going on. I will tell you when I come off of a long trip, like where I've been on stage for a couple of days, I will go home and I'll call it couching. I don't want to go out to dinner. Yeah. I don't want to see neighbors. They're like, oh, Somi's home, but she's not going to come out for a day or two.
Right. Somi's home, but don't bother her.
Yes, exactly.
Right. I mean, I think part of the reason the last 3 weeks I could feel myself kind of going downhill was the weather, but I've also been on the road for 4 months. So I was nonstop. And I think my body was like, forget it. We're done. We're done here. You have got to lie down.
But Stacy, did you do what I did? Listen to what I did. My husband's like, this is why when you are not busy and traveling, you are dangerous. So do you know what I've done in the last 3 weeks that I haven't even been off. I've been seeing patients and helping with, running her MD.
Please tell me it's been like shopping for amazing shit.
I got a puppy.
Oh my God. First of all, I'm so excited for you because life is always better with a dog.
I love dogs. I love dogs.
Dora's not talking to me right now, my dog, because I took her for too short a walk before I had to go to an appointment. And when I came back, I was like, I've got to do the podcast now. We'll go out afterwards. And she gave me such side eye. It's like having a judgmental 3-year-old who is never going to grow up and take care of me.
She's like, yeah, forget you. It's been raining and now it's finally nice enough to go outside and you won't take me outside. Stacey, this was not my fault. So we have always had 2 dogs. We unfortunately had to put one down in December and it happens. I know. And so I was like, okay, it doesn't make it any easier. And the veterinary even said, she's like, this is one of the oldest Frenchies I've ever put down. You took really good care of her. And so I went to puppy yoga. And the dog breed, I swear to you, this is like the universe. They don't tell you till 4 days before.
Okay. Can I come to puppy yoga with you?
I'm telling you, if you're ever depressed, you come, I will come. Yes. Puppy yoga. And so you don't know, I had signed up for it because my daughter was leaving for camp and it was Father's Day weekend. And literally we show up and it's Frenchies. And I was like, I am done. So that was Saturday. By Tuesday, the new puppy, Gusteau, from the movie Ratatouille, we call him Gus or Gus. Tuesday, my husband was like, man, girl, when you decide something is going to happen, it happens. And I was like, yep. And he goes, I can't believe I said yes. And he said yes in a moment of weakness. But can I just tell you, Stacey, number 1, I have never fallen in love this quickly. Sorry, to my hubby. And number 2, he is just like part of the family. He's in, like Flynn.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there are just choices that are right, that you know they're right the minute you make them. I am one of those people who always has like decision regret, but I realize that's because I'm overwhelmed by choice, right? I get decision paralysis. And then once I make a choice, I'm like, there were 1,000 other things that I could have chosen that probably would have been better. What kind of thinking is that? That is not healthy. It's like once you make like what I love is when you make a choice and you're like, damn, I'm good. And everything works out exactly the way you thought it was going to. And I'm so happy to hear that's with the puppy. Meanwhile, I was going to foster, this is 8.5 years ago. I was going to foster Dora for 2 days. 8.5 years later, she's still untrained and a terrorist. Okay. I'm just going to.
What kind of dog is she?
She's a Morkie. She is a lethal Morkie with teeth that are so flat and dull that when she bites you, she can break skin, and she does bite people. But generally speaking, her teeth are too dull to like actually break skin.
Well, we are dog lovers for sure. Absolutely love them. But I was like, oh my God, he's going to chew up everything. There's going to be poop and pee everywhere. And literally, he's been sleeping through the night since we've gotten him. And yes, he already plays fetch. I mean, seriously, our 14-year-old Maltipoo is like, what have you done to me? Like, he just looks at me.
14-year-old Molly. So you raise him, and you raise him old.
Oh yeah, I raise him old. We keep him healthy, and we keep him active. But he is like wanting no part of that. He just looks at me like, seriously, like, what have you done? I had peace in the world. So we're gonna do some rapid fire before we wrap up. Okay?
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I know this has just been like catching up.
I know, it's like it doesn't even feel like work, right? That's when it's the best. Yes, that's when you know you found your people. That's when you know, right?
This is always what makes me so happy. All right, rapid fire, go.
Midlife anthem. What is your song you're jamming to right now?
Oh my God, I can't remember the name of it. It's called Favorite, and I'm going to tell you who sings it. It was a friend of mine made me a playlist, which honestly, I was like, are you giving me a mixtape?
I was just about to say mixtape, girl. That's what we grew up with. Yes.
No, it was the sweetest thing. And hold on, I am looking this up for you right now because I don't want to give you misinformation. I want to give you the right information. It's called Favorite by Isabel La Rosa.
Okay, I'm going to have to listen to that on the way home.
And Prophet by King Princess.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to send you this. I'm going to send you this playlist.
Please do.
I am. I'm texting it to you right now. My friend made this for me, and it's so good that I feel like I should just send it to you.
A word you never want associated with menopause ever again.
Sad.
Finish this sentence. Style is still
relevant.
Most underrated part of aging.
I mean, I think the most underrated part is still the part that's most talked about, which is wisdom. Like,
wisdom. I love that.
Lived experience is a different kind of wisdom than reading a book. It's sort of that speech that in Good Will Hunting that Robin Williams gives to Matt Damon is like, you could quote me Shakespeare, but you don't know what it's like to be in love.
Oh, I love that. If menopause had a dress code, what would you burn and what would you keep?
Oh, that's such a good question. I would burn anything that didn't fit. Mm-hmm. I would burn anything that, because of body weight redistribution, our boobs get bigger, our tummies get bigger. And yes, we can control some of that stuff, but not all of it. Mm-hmm. So any item of clothing that made you feel great when you were younger, that makes you feel a grief and a sense of loss now, get rid of it. I would also, I guess the thing that I really think looks the best on people going through menopause is a sense of wonder and curiosity and interest in learning, because nothing about us is static. Everything is evolutionary. So why wouldn't we give ourselves the opportunity to redefine our personal style? Listen, every 7 years we have new cells. Our whole body is new. So why not just make it every 7 years? Check in with yourself. See if what you feel about the way that you are presenting yourself in menopause gives you the same feeling it did at 25. And if it doesn't, find the things that make you feel good and proud and exceptional.
10 years from now, if we get this right, what is healthcare, culture, and power look like for women in menopause?
Healthcare is free, culture is the matriarchy, and we have a woman president.
I love the last one so much. I'm like, yes, please, in my lifetime, please. Oh my God.
In fact, I want all world leaders to be female identifying or gender nonconforming. I just think it's time for the straight man to step aside.
If people want to, I wish all of you could have Stacy as a friend, because I'm going to tell you a little quick story, because we've already gone way over, and like stepping up for people. So we were in an event together, I think South by, and Stacy was in the most adorable jacket. Adorable. And I was sharing with her, because in the green room, that's when we can like catch up. I was like, oh, I'm taking my 15-year-old. It's going to be her 16th birthday. We're going on a trip. We're going to Portugal and Paris. And she's like, I mentioned that she would love her jacket. Stacy, you want to talk about people who literally take the clothing off their back? She sent it to me, and not only sent it to me, but in time for the trip. So I have these beautiful pictures of my daughter in Portugal in this jacket, and she adores it to this day. And she's like, will it fit? And I was like, yeah, she's a little pixie. I don't know how, Stacy, you are so tall. But yes, so thank you for that.
What are you talking about? When you see me, I'm wearing like 4-inch heels. I'm little. I think I'm getting littler. I'm a little worried that the osteoporosis in my spine is making me shorter. But I did start transfusions, and now I'm taking extra Citracal every day too.
And you need to be doing your weight bearing exercise. You need to be lifting weights. And so Stacy's risk factor is, even though she's not saying she's tall, because my daughter is 5 foot and I'm 5'2". So when you are,
I'm taller than the two of you.
Yes. So when you are Caucasian and you are of lean built, which Stacy is, and notice I didn't say skinny, because I don't want that connotation, right? Lean built, because you can be very strong, but lean built. Yeah, so that increases her risk. And then the fact that she's menopausal also increases risk. And the reason it's so important, that you were talking about bone, brain, and heart. So I like to talk about the invisible and visible symptoms of menopause. So what we're really trying to do with hormones, or with, other changes in your life, like protein and lifting weights and treating the osteoporosis, is really trying to prevent disease. Bone, brain, heart are the invisible symptoms of menopause. Like, yes, you have the brain fog, but there are changes that we now see that are separate and distinct in the brain from aging, that we know are likely because we have estrogen receptors in the brain. So for those of us who are candidates for hormone therapy, if people say, well, I'm through it, I don't have any symptoms, I'm like, no. But remember, yes, women live longer, but in poorer health. Who wants to live a long life where you're sick for most of it at the end? Like, I want to be dancing and climbing mountains and traveling the world. And so so I'm glad that you're getting treatment, because the mortality risk.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I want to hear the mortality risk. I was just saying that was the thing. I was on this quest, really, since I've gotten so involved in menopause and supporting those going through it and wanting to be helpful to doctors in any way, all of the things, right? I really started to care so much more about my health. It's why the weight-bearing exercises became more important, not because I'm like, oh, I want to be skinny. I want to be able to walk when I'm 85. And now getting that diagnosis, I did the MRI for a brain scan just to make sure, there were no white patches. I did all the heart testing I could do. And I did a full body MRI. I wanted to get a baseline of information. So at 55, I was ready to go with this like list of all the things. I did all my blood work, did everything, just so I would be able to track changes from here on out. The one place where they were like, you are not in good health, I was so disappointed to find out it was bone health, because I was like, wow, I have not always been kind to my body. I am not taking good care of her. I do realize now, like, this vessel has been carrying around my soul, and I have not been kind in any way to her. I've starved her. I've put her through hell. I've raged all night at parties with her. I've done way too many things that weren't healthy for her. And to think that at 56, like, my bones got soft, or they're brittle, or they're porous because I didn't do better, is heart-wrenching to me.
But I know, and I'm so sad, but you can do something about it. You can still intervene. You can make it better. And even, I don't know if you saw the study that just came out 2 weeks ago about regular exercise can reverse cardiovascular changes by like 20 years. I was shocked by that data. I actually have to read the study. And so you can still reduce your risk of fracture with interventions, with everything that you're doing, with lifestyle and medication. And so
I'm doing strength training, flexibility training, and stability training because
you want to prevent falls.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so I have a trainer who does flexibility and stability and a trainer who does weight training. And that's not to be like, great, you need a trainer for everything. Go spend all that money. I just find it, I'm now very concerned, about hurting myself. And I'm really trying to practice form. So I like somebody there to, kind of smack me on the back and be like, straighten that back. That's not that's not the right kind of plank. I respond to a little bit of like drill sergeant energy, I think. But
those are the F's, I'm going to joke, that you need to care about, right? Falls, fracture, flexibility, frailty. Like those are the F's we should give right now. Like we should care about and do something about, right? That.
You just came full fucking circle. Excuse me, but I had to use the F word because we now wear whatever the F you want, and think about all the Fs that you have to worry that you should have, right?
That you should have. These are the only Fs you're going to care about now. And so,
exactly.
Where can people find you, love? Where can people find you?
Well, I would love for you to sign up for my new Substack, which is stacylondon.substack.com. I'm really interested in that right now. And obviously, Wear Whatever the F You Want is on Prime Video on Amazon. And we did the first season, which was 8 episodes. We're waiting to hear if we're going to get renewed. And then I'm on QVC. My clothing line is on QVC.com. As you mentioned, that was a metallic reversible bomber jacket that I got for your daughter.
Amazing. Yes.
And there's a lot. I would tell you, I have been on a real shopping kick lately. Now, this is not wise considering how unstable our future looks like in America, but I also feel like I've been getting a lot of joy out of things lately, right? So I kept saying I'm not in my acquisitive phase anymore. I'm in my inquisitive phase. That's postmenopause. I yearn to learn. I'm curious about everything. I want to be the dumbest person in every room, but I'm not going to say that I'm completely out of my acquisitive phase because let me tell you, for my birthday, I got this amazing Elsa Peretti necklace. Chef's kiss. So there was a point to all of this, which was to say,
where can we find you? Yes.
Yeah, right. Where can you find me? So I've been talking a lot about shopping recently on my Substack, and I've been talking a lot about my pieces on QVC because it's summer, it's Christmas in July. You're going to get the best prices ever because everything goes on clearance sale. So my feeling is we took a lot of chances in this first year with the By Stacy London line at QVC. We were fashion forward, much more so than their core customer. We learned a lot and the learning curve was steep, but I really believe with all of my heart, if you are at that pre or perimenopausal journey, my clothing is meant to make your life easier. It's meant to make you look good without any of the effort. And that can be suiting, that can be t-shirts, that can be all sorts of things, just with a little bit more intentionality so that even when you're going through the hardest stuff in menopause, you don't have to feel like you look that way.
I love that. And so the message for today is we can do this, but we have to do it together. Thank you so much, Stacy, for being a fellow disruptor with me. Love you so much.